Well, good morning again. We are back for another episode of NFL Fantasy Matchup. And as always, as we head into week 12 and all of its buys this week, I am joined by Jed and Jimmy.
Hey,
Hey,
good luck, everyone. We're down to what, 6 more weeks, 7 more weeks? Like
no,
it's
less than
less
that.
than
Well,
that, right?
yeah, for fantasy, it's less than that. I think playoffs
Yeah,
start like week 15, so we've really only got like 3 more weeks to go.
yep,
Oh, in some of the leagues, the trading deadline has passed. I'm sitting there trying to make some trade. I said, deadline passed. I said, wow, deadline is already passed in some of our leagues.
yeah.
Yeah, Tommy and I are trading. We're in this one particular league, and I just haven't done too well just because injuries, and I've been
Mm,
really trying to revamp some of my team and trying to get some players from some of the last place teams so that I can at least get into the playoffs
Yeah.
and do good.
yeah. I'm kind of trying to do the Tommy strategy, and in most of my leagues, I'm in somewhere between fifth and seventh, and so I'm just trying to squeak into those playoffs so that I can make a run during the playoffs.
Like the
So
1K league, right?
yes, oh, that
Yeah,
I took
yeah,
a tough loss this
yeah.
past weekend, so we'll see. I really hope I can pull it out there.
Hmm.
Well, and then the guys who are in last place, they're kind of semi not carrying anymore because they're dead last. There's no hope for them in the playoffs. So if you make them a trade offer, yeah, go ahead. And so you're hoping you'll catch one of those guys.
Yeah, let's see. You're in fourth place, Jimmy. I'm in fifth, and then Tommy's in eighth.
Hmm.
And I think we're top six to make the
We are
playoffs,
top
right?
Yeah,
six.
top six. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Hey, we
And
should. What's the name of our sponsor? We always call it the 1K League, but we should really call it the sponsor, whatever the
oh,
sponsor's name is.
farmers insurance.
Farmers
Yeah,
Insurance. That's
farmers.
nice.
Yeah,
Okay, so Farmers
yeah.
Insurance 1K League.
Yeah.
I will say that the top two teams are not that good. I mean,
Yeah.
they're okay, but it's not like they're elite, right? And but I keep watching them every week, and I was like, I can't believe they keep winning every
Yeah.
week as well too.
Well, and that's why you look at the points for and the points
Hmm.
against, but like some of it is just strength of schedule. Like that
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
plays plays a factor.
yeah.
And
This week
then
is
the
going to be
buys.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the buys this week. Like even I'm trying to
Oh,
make
the
it to
buys are
six.
huge.
I'm stuck with Jordan Addison and Rashad Bateman because there's no wide receivers out there.
I would play Jordan Addison before Rashad Bateman.
Oh, I got to play both of them. That's how
Oh, you got
many.
to play both. Oh, you got to play
Yeah,
both of them. You
I
can't
got to
just
play
okay.
both of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm stuck with playing both of them this week.
Man, I picked up, and I don't know if it was this league, but I picked up Jerry Judy in another league before last
Yeah.
weekend. That was
Oh, he
such a
went
good
off
pickup.
last
Oh,
week.
he went
Yeah, yeah,
nuts.
yeah.
Oh, Charles Tillman is out there, Tommy. That's not a bad pickup for you if you need a guy.
Oh,
He had a nice weekend. Yeah, for Cleveland. Although I just said they're not going to be. I didn't say this before we started. I was telling Tommy and Jimmy that tonight's game there's a 99% chance of snow in the Cleveland versus Pittsburgh game. So there's not going to be a lot of air yardage. So be very careful and really play towards the rushing game tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But you know why I'm not picking Charles Tillman, right, Jed? He's
Mm.
still on waivers until this weekend.
Oh, I didn't see
Yeah.
that.
You
Okay,
mean
yeah.
Cedric Tillman.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
Cedric, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Cedric
Okay,
Tillman,
so
yeah.
here's my bet for tonight. I know it's snowing. I bet George Pickens will get a touchdown. You know,
Wow,
it's
that's a
it's
tough
it's one of
one.
those crazy like Pickens
It's
picks up
tough.
some of these crazy touchdowns where I
Yeah,
can see Russell just throwing it up there and somehow he'll grab it. I can see Pickens doing that.
yeah. No, my bet tonight. I did a three-way parlay,
Yeah.
60 yards plus for Najee Harris and Nick Chubb, and then 40 yards plus for Jalen Warren. So I think those three together
Yeah, yeah.
will should be a good hit.
I did a parlay as well too. I had Pickens scoring a touchdown, Pittsburgh winning, and I also had
Did
Nick
you take the
Chubb. I think
spread or Pittsburgh straight up?
straight up. I picked straight
Okay,
up.
yeah, because I think it's going to be tight.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
think
three and
so
a
too.
half point
Hmm.
spread, but this is a division game, so I think it'll be tight.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm interested in talking to you guys later on about the spread between Detroit and the Bears during Thanksgiving weekend because
How big is the spread? I didn't see
they
it.
haven't come out yet because
Okay.
it's in a couple of weeks. But I can see Detroit killing the
Oh,
Bears.
I'll take Detroit all
Yeah.
day,
Oh,
man.
right.
The
Yeah. Yeah.
Bears,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. Oh, that was. I was just thinking about it, guys. The Hail Mary game and then the block punt. The Bears could be 2 game difference if not for stupid last plays of the game. I don't know if you guys have seen all the take on. Basically, there was a guy pushing behind the Packers, it should have been a penalty basically,
Yeah.
but still the Bears should have been able to like figure that out.
But at the same time, the Green Bay players came out and says, "Hey, look, we knew we could block the punt because of how they do their special teams." And so a
Yeah.
lot of times the Bears just really need to continue to improve in some of those areas.
Maybe it's the special teams coordinator that needs to be let go.
Yeah.
Man, we let go of the best special teams coordinator ever, and he's crushing it in Kansas City now.
Kansas City, Dave Toll.
Yeah, Dave Tope. Yeah. So
Now, Jim Jed, the one person instead of George Pickens, I would probably look at Pat Fryermuth or the guy who gets the short yardage, Deontay Johnson.
mm.
No, he's
Or
Oh, wait,
Njoku.
Johnson's
Deontay
not,
Johnson. No,
he's not
their
on their team
other-
anymore. No.
Yeah.
Oh, what's his name? I know who you're Calvin something.
Okay.
Is what you're talking about, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, Fryermuth is okay, but I think he's been a hit or miss. And so I'm with you, Jed. I feel like the running backs are going to do well. I'm just banking on a crazy pass from George Pickens at the in him
Could
scoring
happen.
a touchdown. That's what I'm
Could
banking
happen.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jed, Jimmy, he's been trying to get Joe Burrow from me as a quarterback. Like we talked about, Jim, I'm never going to trade Joe Burrow because I literally traded J.K. Dobbins and there was one other person I traded for. No, Puka Nakua for
Ooh.
Joe Burrow and Garrett
Oh,
Wilson.
that's
Yeah, but
that's
here,
pretty
okay,
good.
but who are you going to play? Because he already has Kyler Murray, right? Are you going to play Kyler Murray or Burrow down the road?
Burrow, because the problem I have with Murray, and the reason why he is so high, he'll have some 26-point games. Then he'll stuck at 9 point. Then he'll sit there at 12. Then he'll go to 30. And I'm sitting there versus Joe Burrow is consistent all the time. As I head into playoffs, I can't depend on someone like Kyler Murray giving me a dud game in the playoffs. Yeah, even though J.K. Dobbins and Puka Nakua is great, and I am putting a lot of bet on Garrett Wilson because he is not he did well a little bit, but with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets not in the playoffs, I'm not sure where that motivation is with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know if you guys heard that some are saying that Aaron Rodgers is hurt, and that's why he has really not been playing well. That in particular, it's his leg, it's his plant leg, that he's not able to put any pressure onto his plant leg, and that's why he's been not as good this year.
And Jed, have you seen how bad the offensive line is? For a quarterback who has Achilles injury that can't throw, your offensive line cannot cover anyone and block anyone. Everyone's just rushing in.
Yeah, but don't you guys feel bad for the New York Jets general manager who just got fired? Because essentially he was doing everything that Aaron Rodgers wanted him to do. He got fired, and Rodgers is still the quarterback.
No, I don't feel sorry for him. He's fine. He made millions. He's fine. I don't feel sorry for him at all.
Yeah. Okay, I know we've got a couple of things to talk about. Let me ask you though. We've got 3 more weeks into the playoffs. What is your strategy? If you're in first place, if you're trying to get to playoffs, what are your strategies as you're entering these last few weeks?
Well, you're playing for, you want to be thinking about any breakout stars. If you're in first place, we just talked about Bo Nix a little bit. That's a good example. You probably already got a starting quarterback that you're using, but you take a Bo Nix, stash him on your bench. If the guy gets really hot, you may be able to use him. The guy I really like is Jaylen Warren. I've been talking about him. He's been getting 10 to 12 carries a game. I still feel like he's better than Najee Harris. And if if anything happens, he could really break out. So those are the kind of ancillary things you can do on your bench to just protect you and set you up. The other thing is look ahead. You can start looking ahead to the week of your first round of playoffs or second round of playoffs. What defense are you going to play? Who has the good strength of schedule on your team? You can start making moves to prepare for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Honestly, for me, a lot of times I am trying to make trades. The guys I'm looking at is Mike Evans, who was just returning in week 12. Jawan Jennings, who has suddenly emerged and got 10 receptions the other day. Or if someone is desperate because they're sitting there, Tyreek Hill. That's somebody I would love to look at. Those are the ones I'm trying to make a trade before the trading deadline.
Did you keep Jawan Jennings in the other league or did you drop him?
I dropped them.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Guess who picked him up? Me.
There you go.
So I just saw a trade Tommy sent over to me for Tracy, right? So Juwan
Oh,
Jennings for Tyrone Tracy. And here's the only thing I'm hesitating on. You don't know what's going to happen with Tracy now that they've changed quarterbacks. I can see them running it more and
Yeah.
mm,
doing well because sometimes they do that. The offense goes better when there's a new quarterback, but that's a lot of ifs right there.
Yeah. Now, a good risk, if you're willing to risk it, I just don't have the capital to do it. Go for Malik Neighbor. See if there's a trading partner. There's no more quarterback Daniel Jones ever since the concussion. He has been doing well. Try and trade for Malik Neighbors and see because they may just keep targeting him. Look at how he was at the beginning of the year. He had so many targets and he was doing so
Yeah.
well before his concussion.
The only issue I would imagine though is if you're in a dynasty league, right? Because yes, you can trade for some of these assets, and honestly, if you're out of the playoffs, what I would try to start doing right now is trade going after some really hot rookies and getting rid of some of your veterans. That's what I would do. But
Hey,
dynasty
Jed,
changes the way you're looking at things.
Jed, let me just say something. When we're
yeah.
recording, please pay attention and not be acting Jalen Warren.
Well, I just saw. I was like, "Oh, Jalen Warren's still sitting out there in our keeper league. Let me just
Yes,
grab
yes,
him."
please pay
So I grabbed
attention to
him.
this conversation.
Okay, seriously, you really think Jalen? I still Najee Harris is having a really really good year. You
He
know?
is. He's having a
Yeah.
great year. I mean, Pittsburgh has been a surprise. I just, to me, from the naked eye, he's the better player. And
Yeah.
so I just feel like, especially when you get into the playoffs, like, and you know what? And it could be a situation like Detroit where both running backs can get enough to be valuable, and
Yeah.
they've been increasing his carries. And so I really like him. I've liked him since last year. But
Yeah.
I'm not starting him. I've just got him on my
Yeah.
bench. We'll see what
I,
happens.
I will say Detroit. I mean, I will say Detroit has surprised me. The amount of points that they put up, but and they have so many good players, right? I don't know how they're doing it. And Laporta's the only one on that team that's not doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would probably, we were talking about Tyreek Hill and CD Lamb
Mhm.
at the beginning. Those were the
Yeah.
top two wide receivers. I am so happy with Amon Ross St. Brown. He
Yeah.
has carried me in some of my leagues. I've always prioritized him as well too. You miss out on Jamar Chase, you miss out on Justin Jefferson, Amon Ross St. Brown, and even now, a lot of times I have him and Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is
Yeah.
just emerging like crazy.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
doing really well. I actually, if I were to really look at those three wide receivers, Metcalf, Lockett, and Jigba, and Jigba's been doing. He's the best out of those three. You know.
We talked about him a lot, you
Yeah.
guys. Remember, we said we were like, "This guy is legit. Just wait. As soon as he's gonna bypass Tyler Lockett," and it's
Yeah.
totally come true. But I was gonna say, do not sleep on Miami. Tua has played 2 weeks now. He is back to normal, and that team looks totally different. They sucked for the first half of the year, but if waited this long with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, a lot of people drop Jalen Waddle. It can pay off now. The only thing is, Achan is still the guy. I just dropped Mostert. I picked up Warren for Mostert because Mostert's no longer number two. It's that rookie. There's that I don't know that rookie who's the
Yeah,
third
Jalen
back.
Warren. Yeah,
Yeah, the
not
guy,
Jalen
but no,
Warren.
no, not Jalen
Yeah,
Warren. It's the guy behind Mostert who's actually better and pulling up the number two. But your Miami Dolphins, do not sleep on those guys. There's a lot of points there.
Yeah. But you want to make sure and see if anyone bites because there are some people who are sleeping on them and won't
Yeah,
pay attention because they're saying Miami's so bad. And then next thing you know, you give a trade and they'll pick it up. And so
yep,
see if you could make some trades and throw it out there.
Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright's the rookie
Jalen Wright.
who
Yeah,
was
that's
picked in
the
the fourth
rookie.
round. Yeah, yeah.
Yep,
So
yep.
Yeah. Can we talk about Bo Nix as well too? If you're
mhm.
looking for a quarterback, Bo Nix is really, really good these days. Denver, Javante Williams, he got a touchdown and all this stuff. He'll get you 59 yards, but I'm telling you, Bo Nix is doing really well.
Yeah, Denver has been another nice surprise. The Denver defense has also been a pretty good pickup.
Mhm.
For example, this weekend they're playing Las Vegas. You could start Denver's defense against Vegas and feel pretty good about it. But yeah, Bo Nix, we were just talking about that. His numbers compare favorably to Jaden Daniels, which I don't think a lot of people realize that he's been doing that well. So it's again, if you need a quarterback, that's somebody to look at.
Yeah, I mean, Bo Nix, what six out of the 7 weeks he scored at least 16 fantasy points. I'm just looking at the stats right now. Carolina, week 8, he threw for 284 yards, 3 touchdowns. Against Baltimore, he did 223 yards and 1 touchdown. Kansas City, 215, 2 touchdowns. And then last week, 307 and 4 touchdowns. So he's really, I mean, it's either him or the coach because it's not like he's got the best players around him either.
It probably is the coach with Sean Payne.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, if I had CJ Stroud, who had another dud again,
Dud. Yep.
I would probably consider picking up a Bo Nix if he's sitting there.
Or I was going to ask you, what do you guys think about Anthony Richardson? He got the start again last weekend. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown. He's playing Detroit this weekend, so you know they're going to be needing points, but do you trust him? Do you feel like he's back to the old Anthony Richardson, or is he the kind of more broken version we saw this first half of the year?
Yeah, probably more. I would probably give it another game and see how he does against Detroit because it really comes down. You have 3 of them. You have Bo Nix, you have Drake May, and you have Anthony Richardson. They're probably sitting on the wire. And so a lot of times, if you have a CJ Stroud, I'd probably be looking at games of all 3 this week.
See, okay, so I mean, if I had to choose between those two, or here's the people you're choosing: Drake May, Richardson, or Matthew Stafford. I would pick Stafford first, Richardson second, and then Drake May third. I can see Anthony Richardson bouncing back, but if I were picking for somebody who's safe, I mean, you got Stafford, right? Because he's got more weapons and more reliable than everybody else.
Yeah, got it. Hey, CD Lamb, a lot of times, anyone in Dallas besides CD, and even with CD Lamb, if I had him, I will probably be looking to trade him too.
Yeah, I mean, he's the only guy. But you know what? Cooper Rush has not been horrible, guys. He's been serviceable, and he at
Hmm.
least knows to keep feeding CD Lamb. So I feel
Yeah.
like you're still going to be okay, and they're going to be needing to come back. They're playing Washington this weekend. That's a tough game. They're probably going to lose, but there should be a lot of points there. So he's still. I don't know. For me, if I had CD Lamb, I don't know that I would trade him away. I would keep him
Jed, I
around.
agree with you because I was watching that game, right? And there's nobody else for him to throw to. I mean, he's just looking for CD Lamb. And
Yeah,
so CD Lamb still had what, 1 touchdown, 17 fantasy points. So
yeah.
you're right. I think whether it's him or Dak, I think they're forced to throw to him. And so that's why I was like, for me, I think he's a safe bet.
There's this one other their other wide receiver, the number 2. I think it's Tolbert. I think, and he had a touchdown last week where he reached the fastest
Yeah,
on-field
yeah,
speed
yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
year. It was like 22 miles per hour. Can you believe that a human being can run 22 miles per hour? I was
Hmm.
like, that's really fast.
Yeah. And but there is no one in Dallas, like you said. They're playing the Washington
Washington.
Commanders.
Yeah.
Washington's gonna blow them out this week because they're
Oh
gonna
yeah.
rush Cooper Rush.
Yeah, it's a 10. Washington's a 10-point favorite. That's the
Yeah. Yeah.
biggest spread this weekend.
I'll
Uh,
tell you this straight up, always pick opponent that plays against Dallas and against Jacksonville because those guys are always going to win.
or this week, Kansas City is playing Carolina
Oh
Panthers.
yeah, that's
Tampa
actually very
Bay is
great.
playing New York Giants with DeVito as starting quarterback.
Yeah, new starting quarterback. Yep,
Hmm.
agree. I
Yeah.
don't know how many. Well, Tampa's a 6-point favorite, but that feels a little low. But it's because it's in New York. So yeah, there's definitely some big spreads this
Yeah.
weekend, but we'll see.
I think the other thing to always be aware of, especially this time of the year, the weather conditions as well too, right? Because some of these indoor teams who are playing outdoor teams, looking at the snow, all of that stuff is really going to make a difference as well too.
Taysom Hill, I know he's on bye this week.
Yeah.
Going forward,
2
is he going to be?
touchdowns.
I know he's going to be plugged in. Is your starting quarterback? I mean, tight end.
Not mine. Although, it's interesting. We've been talking about how bad the tight ends have been, but they've come back. These last couple of weeks, the tight ends have really turned things around. You see Kelsey getting his,
Yeah.
George Kittle has been coming back from injury. So I feel like it's been a lot better. Trey McBride has been good. I think Sam Laporta has been the one guy we really haven't seen a breakout. TJ Hawkinson's still in that top 10. So it's been a lot better.
Not Cole
Mhm.
Kmet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
The good thing
Jed, the
about
only thing is Taysom Hill does have some really good. He's like this all the time. He has some outstanding games where he has like 30 points, and then everyone picks him up in the next couple weeks, 10 points, 6 points, something like that. That's always Taysom Hill.
No, here's the. I mean, and I don't know if this is science, right? But if you look at Taysom Hill's numbers, every other week he does well, right? So what's going to happen is people, all these guys are going to pick up Taysom Hill. He's on bye this week. He's going to play next week. He's going to score like 6, 7, 8 points. They'll dump him, and he'll go off again. But that's just how Taysom Hill is. He always makes a difference towards the end when things don't really matter as much.
Um, hey, another game that for us to look at as well too. Give me 1 minute here. Another game for us to look at that I want to talk to you about is the New England Patriots against the Miami
Mm,
Dolphins.
hmm.
Drake May has been doing well. Is there any wide receivers because of how well he's doing that you would even look at for New England?
The
No,
only
because
one is
Jed never picks up New England guys.
that's right. I
That's his
refuse to
thing.
pick up, but Hunter Henry, tight end, that's the only guy that I would consider, but I'm not doing it. But if you're trying to play New England, that's a player you could look at.
Yeah. Jim, what about Arizona Cardinals against the Seattle Seahawks? If you have Marvin Harrison Jr., what are your thoughts about Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I think he's okay. You know, like he's not as consistent as I thought he would be. And quite
Yeah.
honestly, I think a lot of the rookies at this time are hitting this rookie wall. Well, Neighbors is doing it. The only one who actually seems to be doing better right now is Roma Dunze. I feel like if you're looking at the stock market, his stock is at least going steadily up, whereas the other ones, I think Harrison will always be more consistent. I'm actually not playing them this week just because I've got like a couple other. I've got like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I've got Jensen Smith and Jigba. I've got George Pickens. I've got a bunch of other good players better than him. But I think he's okay if you need. I mean, and this week you kind of almost have to play him because there's most everyone is out this week, anyways.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be a lot of points in that game. It's the over under is 48 points.
Yeah,
So I would if you need a wide receiver, I wouldn't hesitate to play him, but
yeah.
he has not had the ceiling. I think Neighbors has definitely been the better pick of the two. But I was just thinking about how like in our keeper league, I'm still keeping Harrison. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to remember wide receivers a lot of times year 2 is their best year. It takes them a little bit to get adjusted.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But Jen and Jim, speaking of wide receivers who are rookies, Brian Thomas Jr. I know we were just talking about Roman Dunze, but Brian Thomas Jr. has slowly. I mean, he's consistent. He's not really wow. Look at this, 20 something points. But with no wide receivers in Jacksonville, he has done really. He has done decently well. Decently well.
Yeah, there's a lot of actually good wide receivers coming out. Like think about next year, Rasheed Rice is coming back from injury. Even Xavier Worthy's had a pretty good run, and you have the guy out in Carolina too. What is it? Like not like Garrett. What's the? It's Xavier Worthy, right? No,
Yeah.
that's the Kansas City
No,
guy. But
Xavier Leggett. Xavier
Leggett,
Leggett.
Leggett,
Yeah, yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
yeah. Guess
Jen,
what, Tommy? Go ahead, Tom. I
go
know
ahead.
what you're going to say.
Jed, during this time, he's sitting there approving a trade. I
Yeah.
requested Jawan
That's what we're doing.
Jennings, Zaire Franklin, and Kyle Hamilton, and I gave him Kyler Murray, Tracy, and Brian Thomas.
Oh, did he need a quarterback? God, that was good.
I got Jordan Love. Here's my thing is okay. So that's what I was when he was asking me questions. I was looking at his trade proposal and I was getting distracted.
Didn't
You
you
know, I
just
mean,
tell me, Tommy, to pay attention and not do trades?
man, Tom, you really want Jennings that bad, huh? From San
You,
Francisco.
you know what? A lot of times is he's getting a lot of targets, right? And Debo Samuel, a lot of times, he continues to struggle. And with Christian McCaffrey opening up the running game, it seems like they're going to Jawan Jennings. He's a risk that I could play because I'm not going to play Brian Thomas and Tracy. I have so many different running backs, but now with that trade and Kyler Murray, I'm not going to use him. Zaire Franklin, it just shores up my final piece of my defense. And Kyle Hamilton is a great safety, shores up my defense. So
Hmm.
now I go in, my defense is all solidified. Everyone solidified, and Juwan Jennings as my backup wide receiver sitting there.
So he can do that because he's in first place, right?
Yeah.
What I'm looking for is I'm looking for assets because I'm on that cusp where I'm about to make the playoffs. My team's not good. Most likely I'm going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. So I'm really trying to get some good assets that will get me some points.
By the way, if you see Jordan Mason floating around out there, pick him up. I'm
Yes.
not
Yeah. Agreed.
convinced that CMC is going to
Yeah.
be totally healthy, so I would
Yeah.
stash
Yeah.
that guy.
You never know when he's going to go out. And so you want a Jordan Mason because as soon as Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason will be your bell cow. He is a 3 down running back. And so a lot of times you want to look at him as well too. But
Well,
Chad, one
especially
reason. Oh, go ahead.
especially if maybe the last couple of weeks I mean, I don't know if they're gonna make the playoffs. I think they might. Maybe they won't, right? But I mean, they lost in a really gut wrenching game last week to Seattle. And at some point, I'm like, is it really worth playing McCaffrey if your season's done already, right? So,
Yes,
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm. And if you're McCaffrey too, given the history, you're gonna be like, hey, maybe I should shut it down and protect myself for next
hmm
season.
yeah,
So I totally agree.
Hey, Chad, even with that lead, the reason why I was able to trade him, I have Garrett Wilson sitting there. I have Chuba Hubbard, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Terry McLaurin, Drake London, and Najee Harris. So when you have that, you have the flexibility to make some trade and say, oh, look, if Jawan Jennings could easily slide in if Garrett Wilson doesn't work out. And so you kind of just need that
yeah.
insurance policy.
Is
Tommy
that
picked
your
Tommy picked
Japanese
well.
league?
No,
Uh,
no,
Different one.
our Chinatown League that we've been together for
Uh,
about 15 years.
nice, nice.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I've got one league that we're over 20 years now, so it's a lot of fun.
yeah, yeah. The hard part is when you've been around with so many people, you kind of know
Yeah,
which
yeah,
folks are going to pay attention, which ones are not paying attention to,
yeah.
and the ones who are going to trade and who's not going to trade as well
You
too.
know what's the worst? I don't know if you guys have this, where you get in a league you've been playing for a long time, and there's somebody who has like always the same strategy as you. So you end up fighting over the same guys. I hate that. Like when you're in the draft, you're going after the same people. Like they just think the same way you do. That's the worst.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. Actually, my annoyance is with some of our friends. They once they have a team, they just don't trade. And their strategy is, well, if you wanted him, you should have drafted him. But then when you make them trade offers, it just sits there. They don't reject it. They don't accept it. It just sits there. And so that drives me crazy.
Fair.
Yeah. Uh, Jim, LA Chargers, they are on a roll. McConkley, Herbert, J.K. Dobbins, everything. When
Quentin
J.K.
Johnson. Hey, Quentin Johnson, man, wide
Johnson,
receiver. Yep.
side note, can you imagine Jim Harbaugh was the coach of the Bears?
Exactly. I was so people were saying how he didn't know what he was doing, and but look now he's like built this nice foundation. They had a solid. They got the running game going. Now the passing game's coming around. The Bears totally missed out.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
When he drafted Joe Alt and bypassed Malik Neighbors, Roman, what is he doing? All this stuff. But he knows how to build a team. Now, is it a air yard team where you're throwing all over the place? But it's a solid offensive line. You have J.K. Dobbins coming in, and he just does a great job. Solid
Yeah,
defense, everything.
It's
but
a tough game though. They're playing the Eagles this weekend. That's a tough one.
I'll tell you this: Justin Herbert has come on the last few weeks. What do you call it? Quentin Johnson has scored a touchdown each of
Yep.
the last 3 games.
Yep.
McConkey's doing pretty well, right, from
Yep.
fantasy wise, and so it's like he's got a pretty good team for himself.
Well, this is their real test. They're playing Philadelphia in Los Angeles. Philadelphia is a 2.5 point favorite, so Vegas thinks Philly's going to win,
Yeah,
even though it's in LA. So this is a really good test for them. So we'll
yeah,
see.
yeah. That's because Philly's got Saquon Barkley,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh, Philly's a strong team.
Philly is actually doing pretty. I mean, despite everyone always has a criticism about their coach. I think their coach is fine, but I mean, they've got some good weapons on that team.
I was just reading about how the tush push. Everyone was saying how without Jason Kelsey, the tush push was going to not be as good.
Yeah,
It's been super effective this year, just as last year. So,
yeah,
I mean, they have that weapon. They still got Saquon Barkley. They still got Jalen Hurts. You still got AJ Brown. You still got. I mean, this is a stacked team. So,
yeah.
it's still a very strong. Team.
I think the finals, the conference is going to be between Detroit and Philadelphia. That's who I think it's going to be. Yeah.
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 Hey, with everyone on bye, let me ask you guys a question and tell me which one you're thinking about. If everyone's on bye, which player of wide receiver would you pick out of this group? Xavier Worthy, Deontay Johnson, or Christian Watson? if you had to just pick one and you're desperate, is it Christian Watson, Deontay Johnson, or Xavier Worthy?
I bet
Those
Christian
are all
Watson.
those are all pretty good options.
Yeah. No, I know Deontay for sure. I'll eliminate Deontay. I just feel like he hasn't really fit into the system as well. Lamar's got Derrick
Yeah, you're
Henry.
right.
He's got Zay
You're right.
Flowers.
You're
He
right.
Nelson Aguilar every few
You're right.
games is going to do well, right? So I would take out Deontay Johnson. He might do well later on, but not right now. I would pick Christian Watson or Xavier Worthy. Worthy had
Yeah.
80 yards last week. Watson had a great game. He's playing San Francisco this week. I'll pick Watson over Worthy.
And I think I would take. Did you say Xavier Worthy or
Yeah,
Xavier Leggett?
Xavier
Yeah.
Worthy.
Worthy.
Oh, that's tough. Actually, you're right. I would take Watson. I was thinking Leggett because I like Leggett because they're going to Carolina. It's Kansas City versus Carolina. Carolina's going to be behind. They're going to have to throw to catch up.
Yeah.
Kansas City. The problem is they don't need to throw to win. Like they can run Kareem Hunt. They're potentially getting. Hey, you guys see that Pacheco's coming
Yeah,
back?
Pacheco's
soon.
coming back this week.
Yeah. So
Well,
Kansas.
most likely this week he'll be there.
Yeah, so Kansas City can win with maybe just one air touchdown and the rest in the running game. So that's the problem. So I agree with you. I think Watson's probably a better play because San Francisco, Green Bay.
Here's
could
my
be
thing.
losing.
The only thing is if it's a dynasty league, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, because like if you're going to keep the top 5 players or even 4 players, you're not keeping Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
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 What about Adam Thielen? Any of you guys like Adam Thielen?
No, we
Never
know
been-
you like him.
No.
We know you like him, but
He's
we
too
don't like
old.
him. Yes, he's
The
old.
only reason I like Adam Thielen, right, is he's trustworthy and he runs his routes well. And a lot of times now Leggett is probably more of the better wide receiver, better option. But Adam Thielen is your tried and true. He'll always get the receptions. That's why I like Adam Thielen.
Hey, talking about people getting old, did you guys watch the Mike Tyson fight?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I
it was
watched
the
the
most
highlights of
boring-
it.
No, I did. The first 2 rounds was okay. After that, he didn't do anything.
Oh, you could tell there was they had some agreement. Like both players, I mean, it was clear that Jake Paul was not really going after him,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so it was it was a little, but it was kind of fun for me. I don't know if you guys, for me, like I was telling my kids because my kids stayed up to watch, so they stayed up late to watch, and I was telling them, I said, when I was growing up, this is what we did. We like if there was a Tyson fight, we would stay up and watch the fight, and that hasn't happened in so long. So to have that experience was kind of fun.
I forget how long you have to wait for the
Yeah.
main fight, right? Like, because you
Yeah.
think if you just turn it on, they'll be on. No, you got to watch like 2 or 3 other fights just to
Yeah.
get to the main one, right? So
Yeah.
we were doing that, but you're right. Like the first 2, he at least started punching. After that, he wasn't doing anything after that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
The one thing, I don't know if you guys heard this. So there's a class action lawsuit pending against Netflix because of all the problems with the stream that they had. And now the NFL is paying attention because the Netflix is supposed to stream 2 games on Christmas
Christmas,
Day.
right? Yeah.
And they're
Mhm.
big games.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so think about that. If any NFL players or fans can't get access to those games on Christmas, they're going to be really mad.
Yeah. Hey, what do you also think about the inside the NBA guys going over at ESPN?
I'm glad they're still around. I was really worried that it was going to be gone. So personally, I'm happy that they figured something
Yeah.
out.
Now, during the beginning of the NBA season, they're only going to pop up a little bit here and there. It's not until after January 1st that you'll see them consistently. But it will be good to see Shaq and Ernie and all those guys over there.
Yeah, Charles Barkley, I thought he was going to retire. So I'm glad to see it. And good for, I know Barkley was concerned about all the staff, the employees working in the back having jobs. So good for them. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
And then, hey, we haven't really talked about the Bears versus the Vikings. Do you think the Bears have any chance, or
No.
you don't care? You just want to see Caleb Williams continue to develop?
I just want to see him improve, right? Like I want to see if the offensive coordinator is going to do. Oh, it's going back to running backs who might do pretty well. Roshan Johnson actually might be a good
Yes.
pickup for people to look at.
Yes, he has
Yeah.
been looking great. DeAndre Swift is a little bit hurt. He's a little bit, I don't know if he's maybe even questionable.
Yeah,
Here's,
Roshan Johnson, yes, Roshan Johnson has looked great. Like I totally agree with that. And
Yeah.
for some people, he's a top 5 waiver pickup.
yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing here's what I would want to see the Bears do: run the ball more, right? Like put some pressure off of Caleb Williams. use Rashawn Johnson, use your running backs, run that ball, and then open it up for the throwing. That's what I much rather see them do.
Well, even though we lost, the offense looked much better last
Yeah.
week. Last Sunday, the offense was much so. The change in offensive coordinator definitely helped. I still think at the end of the day, we got to get rid of the coach,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and maybe Pace as well, the GM as well.
No,
So,
but here's okay. You know what my biggest disappointment with the Bears though would be, because I was just thinking about this, and it would be typical Bears. It would be great if they got rid of the coach and hire somebody like a Jim Harbaugh or Ben Johnson from Detroit or Aaron Glenn, right, the defensive coordinator. They're going to come up with some no-name guy that they're going to fire in like 3 or 4 years. I mean, that's their mo, right? Like
Yeah.
they don't want to pay for these guys. They want to go cheap, and they think that they can find some young guy who no one has heard about. That's always what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with all of Chicago sports. I was just reading right before this. It says the Cubs are out of the Juan Soto sweepstakes. I don't
yeah,
even think the Cubs were ever in the Juan Soto sweepstakes.
yes,
They
yes.
never want to pay. The Bulls never want to pay. All those guys. White Sox. White Sox is a shamble that no one ever wants to pay in Chicago.
Well, I told you guys, I tried to sell some market research project to the Chicago Cubs. I met the VP of marketing. This is about 10 years ago. And I said, hey, what's your budget? Expecting to hear, major market team, their marketing budget's got to be in the double digit millions, right? At least tens of millions, if not even into the hundreds of millions. It was so small. It was less than 10 million. And when I
Wow.
asked him why, he said, I don't need to sell the Cubs. It sells itself. I don't
Yeah.
need to do any research because even if we lose, even if we win, it doesn't matter. We
Yeah.
sell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it really screws up the mentality of the whole organization because they don't feel like they have to work
I
to
mean,
get all those sick ticket
it's
sales.
it's the same as the Chicago Bulls, right? The
Yep.
Chicago Bulls still sells, even if they're going to be a 500 team. They're still selling tickets. They're still selling jerseys. I mean, I mean, they don't really care.
Yep.
Yeah. And is it embarrassing that after a whole year, now half a year, I still have not been able to watch the Chicago Bulls game because it's not on YouTube TV. The only
Yeah.
place it's on is DirecTV. It's not on Comcast. It's not on YouTube TV because they're still fighting over these rights.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't seen a single game either. But the NBA has been. By the way, in our NBA league, man, I'm getting crushed by injuries. I've got like five guys. Wembanyama and Edie are both
Oh yeah,
out.
Wembanyama
Middleton and
is out on
DeRozan.
IR. Yeah.
I know, so I'm like
Yeah.
really hurting now. I'm in first place, or I'm in first or second. I was doing well, but the NBA has been fun this year. I don't know if you guys have been watching Cleveland too. The Cavs, man, surprisingly, really, really good.
I
This
watched the
year.
game the other day between Cleveland
Against
and
Boston?
That was
Yeah,
a good game.
yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
watching.
very
That was a
good game.
Yeah.
The Oklahoma City against Dallas game, and then Oklahoma City against San Antonio was fun too.
Yeah.
It's a lot of good teams this year.
Jed, you know who's been doing well for me? Grady Dick from Toronto. He's been doing really well. His scoring, 3 points, but 15, 16, 32, 15, 26, 22. He's been doing
Yeah.
really well when it comes to scoring.
Yeah, the guy for me who's really, if he stays healthy, LaMelo Ball has been crushing it. Like just close to triple doubles, crushing it on the assist side. So he's been carrying my team.
Didn't he get injured the other day? I thought he went out of the
Oh,
game
did he?
or something like that, right?
No,
Yeah.
that was his brother who is once again injured.
Lonzo.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lonzo.
Now, Lonzo
Yeah.
Ball with a wrist injury, once again out for 6 weeks.
Ugh.
Hmm. Yeah. By the way, I'm
Yeah.
looking at it. While we were talking, Tommy also picked up Jordan Mason, our 1K league.
Oh, there you go. That's a good
Yeah.
pickup.
Jordan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
that's
sitting
what I
there
was
as I
saying.
was scrolling, and I was talking about Christian. I said, "Wait a minute, Jordan Mason's sitting there."
See, you just told me not to do that, Tommy, and you just went against your own advice. So now I
Yeah.
can do that too.
Hey, by the way, our mutual friend, the one who has a son who's in data science and got a job over at the Miami Marlins, he texted me. He's interviewing for the data science position at the Miami Heat.
That's
Really?
awesome.
Yep, Miami Heat. I
Wow.
said, "Wow, that's pretty impressive."
Under Spolstra. Spolstra.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
great.
Really?
I said, "Wow, I am very impressed. You went from the Miami Marlins, and now you're interviewing for the Miami Heat for an official data science position. That's really, really good."
So I have a kid from who was on my team a few years ago who's now in the the Golden State Warriors organization doing research and analytics. So there's definitely those positions out there. They're just hard to get. Like it's very, very competitive. So you have to really know your stuff, but they're definitely out there.
And it is good to start young. I mean, I wish a lot of times I wouldn't. If I was like 20 years younger, I probably would start. Like I was just asking Mike McCartney, the agent. I said, "Can anyone, let's say for me, can I start being an agent?" No, because you really don't make money for the first 5 years as an agent, and so you got to build up your portfolio. And so if you're like 40s and you have a family support, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah. All right, I have a budget meeting I got to run into, and
Oh
so
wait, hey, one more thing. Bitcoin, $100,000.
I know. I was thinking about selling. I was
Yeah.
thinking about selling because
I'm gonna sell at 100, or at
Yeah,
least
I think-
I'm gonna sell half of it at 100.
yeah, exactly. I think I'm. Yeah, I mean, but it's been a great run. Like I got in. I mean, more recent got in was like around 60, so it's been like great.
Yeah,
Like it's definitely
Yeah.
yeah. All right, thank you guys.
All right.
good to see you
thanks.
guys.